We're gonna talk about it. The end of a relationship does not mean the end of you. Why do people think that? Why do they think that when something happened, it's because it affects you so much, and that makes total sense. But at the same time, it's not the end be. And we're gonna get into it. We're gonna see why it's not. We're gonna talk about how it can be portrayed that way or seen that way or perceived that way or whatever you want to call that word. It can be that can make it happen, right? It can make you feel that way. But that being said, let's get into it. But first things first, make sure you like and subscribe. All right, Lotus D coming back to you here. I have been doing a lot of shorts so far. That's anything for under 4 minutes and under. So here's something to think about. How do you heal and rebuild when you go through a relationship that was probably maybe toxic? Maybe it wasn't. But all in all, it didn't work out. How do you rebuild from that? So there's a couple of different things. The first thing you have to do that a lot of people do not think about doing is grieving. I know. It's like grieve. No one the relationship died. The relationship is no longer, right? The relationship has, maybe y'all are friends now, or maybe you put them in the friend zone, they put you in the friend zone. I don't know. But technically speaking, the relationship, if it was more so of a romantic relationship, is no longer exist. So you have to give yourself time to heal to get through that process of grieving. The other point of it is you need to journalize your feelings. When you're feeling like, what did I do? How did this happen? What did they say? How did that take place? Is it the same kind of guy I keep on dating, or is it the same type of woman I keep on having? Or all those questions need to be answered and they need to be take a note of. But why didn't it work out? A lot of times what we forget to do is ask ourselves that question, or when we do know the answer, we don't remember it. And I know that sounds crazy, right? You would think, I've been in this relationship, I've been with this person, I should remember it. A lot of times we don't. A lot of times we don't because we start to put it in the same box over here on the shelf of something that didn't work out versus saying, why did it not work out? I know sometimes because it's hurtful to think about the reasons why it no longer exists, it still is something that needs to be definitely looked at. So even if that means you got to wait a little bit to go through it, process, that understands. It's understandable. The only thing is when you wait so long to go through it, you might not forget why it didn't work out in the first place. It might be less details that you remember when you wait too late. So the best thing to do is to nip it in the bud, do it right away, write down some journaling of that, write down through tears, write down through pain. A lot of the best things, and I'm not trying to be insensitive when I say this, but a lot of the pain that we feel, a lot of the process that we go through, a lot of the songs we hear on the radio or the poems we hear or the stories that are told, it involves some type of pain, whether it be the heart aching, or health wise, but it's some type of pain that it gives us, right? And so remember that you heal through that. You can rebuild through that. You don't have to take it as, oh, I don't remember it anymore. It took place and I need to forget it. Because if you want to be in a relationship or you crave one, because most of us do, majority of them, I haven't yet to meet someone that says I don't want one. And even when they said they did want one, they wanted one. I'm just saying. So that being said, think about it that way. Think about this is setting you for success on the next person that comes into your life. And then when you think about that, think about your self care. Okay. Think about, what makes you feel good. And I'm not talking about eating a big, huge thing of ice cream either. I'm talking about things that are healthy for you. I know, right? I mean, you can still, I'm not telling you not to have ice cream. I'm just saying ice cream, ice cream, ice cream tubs, big, huge, and not eating, not taking care of yourself. Not being conscientious of your health and knowing that um, sugar is probably not best for you on every meal, especially if that's the only meal. Just saying. Okay. That being said, you have to find something that makes you feel whole again. So I'm not speaking about eating only. It could be working out. It could be walking your dog and taking them longer strides every time. It could be something as simple as writing a book. Hey, poems, singing, dancing, things that you used to do. Unfortunately, that you probably stopped doing, or things you even did when you're around someone else. But these are the things that you do and makes you feel whole. And that's what you need. Because the thing is, you have to remember this, is that the other person that was in your life should have been able to accept you doing those things. So if they weren't, and you didn't show that part of you, then this is a part for you to already start the process of journalizing. Why didn't I ever dance with them when there was no music on? We were silly. Why didn't I ever, So there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but that's not what this is all about. This is not about that. This is about healing. So let's keep it on track, okay? Let's stay healing here. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Because when you get to a point where you have having anxiety or you're in pain and you're suffering and you need some help, you need people around you. People like to go and get in their bed and crawl up behind the sheets. And that's, I understand that. I can relate to that. I'm a very private person as well. However, comes a time when you're just gonna have to let it, just break the box open. You just gotta say, you know what? I can't keep doing it this way. It's working for me. Every time I do it that way, I end up being so depressed, so down. I gain weight. I start doing this. I don't do anything to help myself out. I don't be the same person at work. I've had people lose jobs over heartbreak. I've seen it. I've heard it. It happens. I've seen people lose a lot of things, not just a job. So keep in mind that you really need to rebuild yourself. You have to go through healing process. In order to do that, that means you do have to face some things that you don't want to face that happened in that relationship. But in order to get to the next one, that you want it to be better, and you want it to be more significant, you've got to journalize. You've got to think about yourself. You got to think about what you can change. If there's something you feel like you need to change, even if it's just being more aware and setting boundaries that maybe you didn't set. When you first got into a first relationship, you're like, I didn't set any boundaries. I just took it as it went. I let him lead the way. I let her lead the way. No, you can't do that. At some point, you will wake up, hello, and you'll say to yourself, forgot myself. I forgot me. I forgot to add myself to that relationship. So these are some things that I'm speaking of. So hopefully this will give you some ideas. And at the same time, if you haven't had this process happen before and you've never done this before, and maybe you're saying, D, this happened. I've been out of a relationship for 3 years. Okay, are you happy with that? Or are you looking into something new? Because if you are looking at something new, then you got to go backwards for a minute, just for a minute, just to reflect on what you need to change or what you need to improve or what needs to the process of it. I'm not saying whatever you did was so bad. I'm not saying whatever they did was so bad. What I'm saying is it didn't work out. So there's a reason for it. And that means that you have to figure out what that reason is. And if you feel like there's no reason at all, you still have to figure out what do you want to show up in on your next relationship, whether it is setting boundaries, recognizing those boundaries, and recognizing this person is similar to what you dated before or similar to certain patterns. You'll see it. You'll see it because you'll be open to it. And that's the biggest thing. In order to heal, you have to be able to see and hear that it's okay. It's okay. You have to acknowledge those things because when you try not to and you put blinders on, unfortunately, you can repeat yourself. Right. So aside from that, remember closure. This is a word. I can't remember the sentence by myself. I'm gonna have to read my trusty little book. Remember closure comes from within. Your next chapter is waiting. I love that quote. So again, your next chapter is waiting. Closure comes from within. You can't find it out here. Again, healed, rebuild. All right. Have a good one, guys. Thank you again for showing up and showing out, being here on. Yeah, I know, right? I'm 8 minutes. What? I'm gonna try to keep it down for you guys. I know you got things to do, and at the same time, I want to make sure that I always acknowledge that and keep you all in mind when I'm doing what I do and enjoying what I do as well. All right, but then again, don't forget those two things: like and subscribe, and please don't dim your light for anyone. Bye, guys. Take care of yourselves.